Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor. And today on the Black Financial Channel, I want to talk about the stimulus package and the stimulus checks that won't be coming. The next package is being worked on right now by Congress, but there will be no checks sent to individuals in the next stimulus package. So I'm going to break down what's going on with the stimulus and why these idiots can't find a way to send a check to the American people in 1 second. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, your friendly neighborhood finance professor. We are Black first on this platform. I'm not just a finance professor who happens to be Black. I'm a Black man who happens to be a finance professor. Please put your hashtag B1 in the chat. Hashtag B1 means that we are Black first on this platform. Doesn't mean you have to be Black to be here. We just want you to know what the rules are. The Black community matters. Black wealth matters. We're all black, bliggity black, and twice on Sundays we're Black. We're always Black. So hashtag B1 in the chat. Hello, James and Karen and Queenie. You guys are the first three. I see you in the chat. All right, so let's talk about what's going on with the stimulus package. Right now, the stimulus is something that I thought was pretty dead. These congressmen and congresswomen just seem, they're pretty worthless. They're not really doing much of anything for the American people that I can actually calculate. And I happened to run across an article talking about this stimulus bill, and apparently they're working on a stimulus bill because they should have did this 2 months ago. If this were your eighth grader and they spent this long getting their homework done, you would think your eighth grade child needed to be riding the little bus to school. You would think that they need to be in special ed because it should not have taken them this long to get these things done. But because you have a bunch of children running the country, a bunch of children, not just children. I'm disrespecting children when I compare them to children. These are selfish children. These are spoiled brat children. They can't get anything done. The Democrats didn't want the payment sent out because they didn't want Donald Trump's name on the check, because they felt that if his name was on the check, it would get him reelected and they would lose their power. And the Republicans don't want to spend money. The Republicans claim to be so worried about the deficit, but they ain't worried about the deficit. They don't have any problem with the deficit when it comes to taking care of their rich friends. The last stimulus package, the last stimulus bill that they put out there when they sent that money out, it did boost the economy for sure, but it was done horribly bad. It was incredibly sloppy, incredibly imprecise. They were sending money to companies that didn't need it. Right now, you have a lot of what they call zombie companies. Zombie companies are companies that basically were all but dead. And you know what, y'all? They got saved by the pandemic. So there were companies that were almost dead. Almost, some of y'all might be old enough to remember this, and if you were really paying attention, you might have caught this. This happened 20 years ago when there was this event in the United States called 9/11. And right before 9/11, there was a guy in New York named Rudy Giuliani, and he was on the cover of every newspaper because he had some crazy scandal going on with his wife. I think he dumped his wife and got with some other lady, and he was being dragged. I mean, his career was on its last legs, and he was almost done. He was the mayor of New York at the time. And then 9/11 hit, and literally that propelled his whole career. That resurrected his whole career. He built his much of his political career on the back of a tragedy. Well, a lot of zombie companies are out there that have done the same thing. They were about to die, about to go into bankruptcy where they belong. Dead companies, bad companies should be gone. That's the way a good economy is supposed to work. If you can't do the job, you're supposed to step to the side so that somebody else could use that capital for a better purpose. Well, these companies were all but dead. But then what happened was they passed that first stimulus package, and they literally just did this weird shotgun approach to throwing money, onto the economy. I mean, literally, it was like making it rain in the strip club. I don't even go to strip clubs. I was to a strip club one time because I had to go for a bachelor party, and I was really fascinated with what I saw. And I remember seeing all these dollar bills just flying through the sky, and these really acrobatic women swinging from poles, and it was just really amazing to watch. And so I have that image in my head when I think about how they handled the last stimulus agreement. They didn't think about where the money was going. They didn't think about who was going to get it. They didn't separate the rich from the poor. They just took care of everybody. They just made it rain like Magic City on the entire economy. And the tall people got the money first, meaning that the wealthiest people got the money first. They give the money to the banks. The bankers made sure their wealthy clients got their money first. The PPP loans did not get to black people. We know this. They didn't get to small businesses. They didn't get to the mom and pop organizations. They went to the big corporations. They went to wealthy people. They were sending out these checks. They sent everybody a check, even if you didn't need the money. They were giving money to businesses that weren't having any financial problems. There were businesses that were making more money during the pandemic than they were making before the pandemic, and these companies got stimulus support. They said, "Hey, since you're giving away free money, since you're making it rain up in this joint, let me get a couple of dollars too." And so they did it really badly, and the Republicans were part of this. And the Republicans, I think, have to take a responsibility for this. And the Democrats are ridiculous too. The Democrats get challenged for the fact that they, for some reason, I heard one of the Republicans say that they want to give checks to illegal immigrants. And I'm no disrespect. If you're illegal and you're not from this country, I don't hate you, but this ain't your country. Go to your country and get money. Seriously, I mean, really. I mean, if I were in your country and they said, and I lined up to get a check from your government, and everybody else was hungry, and you got people in that country that are starving, if they told me, take your butt home and get money from your government, I wouldn't have no problem with that. It's like if the little kid down the street comes to your house to eat dinner and your kids can't eat, then you tell them, ain't you got a mama? Like, don't you have parents? What did your mama cook tonight? I think I heard your daddy calling you. Like, does that boy, is he ever going to go home? Right. So the Democrats and Republicans are both ridiculous. They're just absolutely ridiculous. And that's why nothing's getting done. And the sad thing to me is that they don't care if this whole country falls apart. They don't care if people don't get to eat. They don't care how much people struggle. They don't care how many businesses die. All they care about is that they win an election. So one of the things I can definitely tell you that I wish they would do, as we're talking about stimulus checks and stimulus packages and all that stuff, is I wish they would do a stimulus on the Congress. I wish they would tell the Congress that you don't get a check unless the American people get a check. If the American people don't get a check, then you don't get a check. You don't get paid if they don't get paid, because you're sitting here comfortable and cozy, and you're making your 100, 200, $300,000 a year plus fringe benefits that come with being a politician, and you got millions of people that are waiting for you to do something, and you're doing absolutely nothing. I really think there's a point you have to kind of just throw caution to the wind and start calling it out for what it is. It's sick. It's ridiculous. So let me keep going. Mike Jones asked, how do you spell blickety black? I don't know. Actually, if you go to wokeblacktees.com, I think we actually have a shirt that says blickety black on it. It's wokeblacktees.com. I don't talk about our t-shirt brand that much, but I probably should, because I think we should wear t-shirts to talk about who we are and show people. There's the URL. I'll put it on the screen. So wokeblacktees.com. So feel free to go there. I think there is a shirt that says, I'm not just black, I'm blickety black. And that's something I've always said. So we put it on the shirt. So feel free to go take a look. All right. So here's the deal. So right now, I'm gonna give you a quick update on what's going on with the stimulus bill. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. And if you're watching on any platform, please share if you could. Everybody, I'm asking you to do something. Please share, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell. Definitely hit the notification bell and the subscribe button so you'll be notified when we go live, or the follow button, just things like that. Because we're trying to build black media here. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. But if you guys help us, we can get this done. All right. So it says direct cash payments to most American households was one of the most popular and efficient measures Congress enacted as part of its response to the coronavirus pandemic earlier this year. But lawmakers seem to have lost interest in another round of checks. Legislators this week resuscitated talks over a new coronavirus relief package, which includes new unemployment assistance, money for vaccine distribution, and more aid for businesses and state governments. But none of the potential compromise proposals includes another round of stimulus checks. We're sending money out as a relief for people in distress as opposed to a stimulus. This is not a stimulus bill, Senator Mitt Romney, a Republican from Utah, told Huffington Post about a bipartisan $900 billion legislation he is crafting with other moderate senators. Senator Joe Manchin, one of the Democratic authors of the compromise, said it was more urgent to get a deal preventing federal unemployment benefits and other emergency programs from expiring, but that he did support another round of direct payments. Quote, hopefully that will happen when Joe Biden becomes president. Romney's GOP colleagues posed the biggest obstacle to providing more checks to Americans. They renewed their objections to deficit spending as the prospect of Joe Biden's victory in the November 3rd presidential election became more likely. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell in July unveiled a proposal that included a second set of stimulus checks, but he abandoned it after a fierce backlash from conservatives over its trillion-dollar price tag. McConnell now insists on a slimmed-down $500 billion measure. So here's what's going on right now. when I'm hearing a different tune from the Republicans and the Democrats, I think the Democrats have no problem with sending checks out to the American people. This is the moment where I am a Democrat. I did not vote for the Democrats in the election. I vote Libertarian, in case you want to know. But not that it matters. But you're not going to get me to change my mind, so don't try to tell me what to do. But the one thing that I am going to say on this is that you know that there's no reason to think that the economy can't be stimulated by sending money directly to the American people. The fact that the money must trickle through a system, or it must go through somebody's business or through somebody's organization to get to the people, is kind of an elitist concept. It's kind of saying, look, we're not going to give you the money directly, but we're going to give it to your boss so your boss can decide how much money to give you. That's a problem. And that to me is that battle between what I call trickle up and trickle down economics. You see, money tends to trickle up. Let me ask you guys this. For most people, let's think about most people who are, say, in the bottom 40% of America in terms of income, who are really struggling right now due to the pandemic. And if you're in that category, my heart goes out to you. That's why I talk about wealth every day, because I want to help you get out of that situation. So if you send a stimulus check right now, send all these people, say $2,000 or $1,200 or whatever. What do you think is going to happen with that money? What do you think they're going to do with the money? Most people, not y'all, because y'all are different. Y'all special. Y'all are smart. Tasha, you're one of the smart ones, right? So I know that you guys are going to go invest. You're going to go buy some stock. You're going to do some of that. Well, what do you think most people are going to do, right? Well, especially if they're behind on some bills and things like that, they're going to go spend the money, right? They're going to go spend it. And when they spend it, then businesses get stimulated because businesses need customers. And the more customers you have, the more money you make, right? I mean, the most important thing that a business can have is a customer. So why not put the money into the hands of the American people, let that money trickle up? Well, because they want the money to trickle down. So they want to actually do things for the companies to keep certain companies alive, including these zombie companies that are doing nothing for the economy. Some of these companies that need to be destroyed, that need to just go to hell, and they want to put money in their pocket so that wealthy people can stay wealthy and decide how much money they want to trickle down to their workers, how much money they want to trickle down to the economy. And I'm not a fan of that all the time. In fact, actually, even if you go back to 2007, 2008, when Obama, did a good job of getting us out of that first crisis. He deserves credit for that. But one of the things that he did that I understand, but I don't understand. I get it, but I don't get it. Is he put that money out there in the economy, and the money went to the banks. The money went to the corporations, and a lot of those banks and corporations, the people at the top, they get to eat first. So it's like, if you want, it's like I have three kids, right? I got the 17-year-old who's the biggest and the tallest, and then I got the 13-year-old who's probably probably the smartest. Don't tell him I said that, but she's slick, she's sharp, but she's also in the middle child, so she got some anger issues. We're working through that. And then I got a 10-year-old who's the baby. Now, if I want to feed the kids, and there's no sort of structured monitoring to make sure that all the kids get to eat, and I just go to the house and I drop off a bunch of food and I hand it to the 17-year-old, then the 17-year-old is going to make sure he eats first. If there's burgers and fries and pizza and not enough food for everybody, he's going to pick the best food for himself first. He's going to eat the most first, and then he's going to pass it down to the 13-year-old. And then if there's not much food there, then and there's no monitoring, there's no regulation. This is where the government comes into play. Parents, you are the government of your household. If there's no governance there, then the 10-year-old is going to get nothing. The 10-year-old is going to be like, I didn't get to eat today, right? And so somebody has to be there to make sure that the baby eats, right? Somebody has to do that. So you can't just hand a bunch of the food, especially if food is short and food is scarce and everybody's hungry. You can't just hand the food to the 17-year-old and hope for the best, and say to the 17-year-old, hey, make sure you let your little sisters eat. No, he's gonna get the big piece of chicken for himself. And that's what corporations do. They're like the 17-year-old. They take the best food for themselves first, and then they give you the leftovers. And unfortunately, in this country, we don't always have enough for everybody. Not because there's not enough for everybody, but we don't have enough for everybody because some people are just greedy. There are wealthy people who literally feel that if I don't make $100,000 this month, then I am in the struggle. I can't survive without getting my $100,000 a month. And then you've got people at the bottom who are living off $500 a month. And so really the best way to handle that is number one, you need regulation. You need targeted support for the economy. When they write these stimulus checks, the stimulus checks need to go to the places that need the money and not go to the places that don't need the money. If the oldest child already ate, and you don't just give them all the food and tell them to eat what they want, especially if they're fat and greedy. You say, no, you already ate. We're gonna feed the hungry kids first, right? Also, you put money, you put that food right in the hands of the 10-year-old, right? You make sure that the 10-year-old gets her piece of chicken before you start giving out food to the bigger kids. So the analogy, I hope you get the analogy. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you get the analogy. You don't know how I am. I like analogies because they make things easy to understand. But then maybe if I talk too much, it makes it hard to understand. But I hope you get what I'm saying. I personally think that right now and that's the difference to me between Democrats and Republicans. I must give Democrats credit because they look out for the people better than the Republicans do. But I give Republicans credit for the fact that they look out for the economic engine of America much more than liberals do. Some of the extreme leftist ideologies I hear economically do not work. Like this idea of just destroying corporations and taking all the money away from wealthy people and corporations and just throwing it all out there and spending money and printing as much money as you need to spend whatever you want. That's how you destroy an economy. That's how you destroy an economy. But at the same time, the problem with the Republicans is that they are a bunch of greedy bastards. They are so greedy. They believe that ever since the 1980s, they've always believed that greed is good. They believe that it's a crime to make them pay an extra 0.5% in taxes so that a starving person can eat. And I think that's kind of ridiculous. You don't need another Mercedes. You don't need another Rolls Royce. You're doing very well. You have $10 billion in the bank. You'll do okay with 8 billion. So stop it. Just stop it right now. Right. So at the end of the day, I think that that if you ask me, am I more Republican or more Democrat? I don't fit in those boxes. I refuse to fit in those boxes. I maybe because I'm nationalist, like Malcolm X was very nationalist. He's very pro business. He's very pro black empowerment. That might make me a little more conservative. I believe in structure. I believe in institutions. I believe in things like family, right? I believe in being on code. I believe in working together. I do believe that there should be good leadership, but at the same time, I think that if you understand leadership, then you also understand the importance of making sure that the voice of the people is always heard. You cannot be an effective leader if you do not listen to your people. That means if you ever start a business and you run that business and you have employees, and some of you have managed people, maybe taught kids or whatever, or been a judge in a courtroom or something like that, you understand very clearly that you can't just do what you want to do without considering the interests and the wishes of everyone in the room, right? So I think that that's the big issue I have with Congress in this whole conversation about the stimulus is that they're kind of doing what they want to do, and they're not really concerned about what the American people actually want. And that's to me the crime of all of this. And I don't see, and in fact, actually, if you look at the last stimulus package, the most efficient part of that stimulus package was the distribution of those checks. The IRS got that money out, got it in people's hands. It immediately popped the economy. The working class people were better off because they had money in their pocket. Businesses were better off because these people went right out and they supported businesses. See, pay attention now. This is the one thing you got to understand about America. People support businesses more than businesses support people. Now, am I right or am I right? Listen, think about this. People support businesses, and if you look at what people do with their money, people will spend money. People will go out and buy products every Christmas, all the holidays. They got us all brainwashed to go spend money during the holidays, all that, right? So people support businesses much more than businesses support people. And a lot of times, these businesses, they make investments. They might spend as much money as they have to spend, but there's a point where the reason that wealthy people have wealth is because they tend to have a stronger economic consciousness, which means that if you give a wealthy person money, they're usually more likely to not let go of that money than if you give money to a broke person. Right. And I'm talking about even the people who started off poor, who eventually became wealthy, because you eventually become a product of your habits. If you act like a wealthy person, then you'll eventually become wealthy. If you're wealthy and you act like a broke person, then you'll eventually be broke. Like that's kind of like you tend to end up wherever you're supposed to be, right? Wherever your actions take you. It's not about where you are, it's about where you're going. So the thing is, the danger to me, the absolute danger uh, of of sending money to wealthy people and to the top of the corporate ladder and hoping the money trickles down is because the people at the top, they tend to be more conscious about money. They tend to be more careful about letting it go. And what happened during Obama's era is when Obama was trying to do his own stimulus situation, he was giving money to banks and corporations, and they were not letting the money go. They were not letting the money trickle down. He would give the money to the banks and say, okay, banks, go make loans. And the banks were like, we ain't doing nothing because we don't know how this is going to work out because we're trying to be careful. We're trying to manage our risk, right? Whereas a consumer is a little bit different. I mean, they do this a little bit of the same thing, but not to the same extent. So if you want to know what I think about this, I think it's all ridiculous. How do I think it's going to end? I believe that once Biden's in office, they're going to recircle and do something else. I think that they got to get the COVID thing out of the headlines. I think they're kind of positioning all this so that Biden gets to be the superhero that saved us from the horrible virus that was going to kill everyone. Even though, again, I reiterate my point that 99.9% of you are going to survive. 99.9% of you are going to, you know, 99.9% of you are going to not die, right? So I think that's important to remember. Now, Christy says, this sounds like the old voice. I like when he talks to people and not at them. Huh. I hope I don't talk at you. I'm talking at you now, though. I don't know the difference, Christy. I don't know what it means if I'm talking at you or to, because I'm talking at you now, but I'm also talking to you. So what's the difference, Christy? Maybe you can help me understand because I'm confused. But I love you. I love you very much. All right. So anyway, Leroy says he hates Kamala too. I don't hate Kamala. I just don't think. I'm just waiting for a black woman. So you ain't gonna tell me. You ain't gonna convince me that Kamala Harris is a black woman or that she has the black community's interest at heart. I mean, Kamala actually kind of told you what her thought process is. Kamala said it's not like I'm gonna do something specifically for black people. She said that. She said that. So so we have a difference in ideology. How about that? Our difference in ideology is that I believe that you should do something specific for black people. Give me a yes or no. When they decided to enslave, black people, did they do that to everybody, or was that specifically done to black people? Give me a yes or no. Was slavery specific for black people, or did they enslave all the white women too, and I just didn't know it? Tell me. And did they enslave the gay people and enslave the immigrants? And did they do that? Did I miss that part of history class? Or was that specifically for black people? Give me a yes or no. Come on, y'all. Come on, help me out here. All right. All right. So when they were lynching and hanging, us from trees, um, were white people also being hung from trees? Like, did they just say we're gonna get all the poor white people and hang them from trees, or did they specifically do that to us? Specifically, what do you think? What do you think? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was specific, and I could keep going. But I'm not going to keep. I'm not going to mull on this point. I'm just going to say that this issue won't be resolved. If you want to talk about the racial issue, it won't be resolved until you have a specific remedy for a specific problem. So you were specifically targeted. So you deserve specific support and specific attention. And until they become specific, then it'll never work. It'll never work. You can't do heart surgery when you're a general practitioner. Like you can't go and give somebody a kidney transplant. A kidney transplant is not the same as giving somebody aspirin. So they're trying to give you aspirin and making you think it's a kidney transplant. No, it's not. It's not the same thing. All right. So anyway, guys, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. And for those that are interested in stock market investing and all that good stuff and building your wealth and everything, we actually did something called the Black Stock Market Weekend. I'm gonna probably do another one maybe in a couple months and do it live. But if you actually want to just view the recordings are available at a discount at the blackstockmarketweekend.com. We spent the whole weekend and we went through my 11-step methodology for selecting stocks to my portfolio. It's really good. It's really thorough. You can feel free to go take a look. And if you're not happy, you can get your money back. But I know you're going to be happy. So feel free to go take a look if you're interested in it. Also, text the word BOYCE to 31996. If you'd like to get text alerts, you can text BOYCE to 31996. If you could, please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button on your way out. I'll keep you updated on what's going on with the stimulus and stimulus checks and all that stuff. And hopefully Congress will have a change of heart. But for right now, these politicians ain't worth a nickel. So you're going to have to do it yourself. But you can do it because you are extraordinary people and you can do anything. So take care, guys. Have a good day. And I'll see you soon. Be good. Peace.